Israel is at war.
That was Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in a televised address on Monday.
We didn't want this war. It was forced upon us in the most brutal and savage way. But though Israel didn't start this war, Israel will finish it. Hamas terrorists bound, burned, and executed children. They are savages.
Israeli warplanes have been bombarding densely populated Gaza since Saturday, with 250 targets struck in the Al-Furqan neighborhood of Gaza City between Monday and Tuesday alone. Civilian casualties are reportedly high, with the Palestinian Health Ministry stating Tuesday that so far 770 people had been killed and 4,000 others wounded in the strikes. Among the dead are 140 children, the ministry added, and 2 senior Hamas officials, Jawad Abu Shamala, who served as economy minister in Hamas's political wing, and Zachariah Abu Ma'mar, who was reportedly a close associate of the group's leader in Gaza, Yahya Sinwar. Israel has also taken many casualties. Haaretz reports rocket barrages from Gaza and Lebanon have been targeting large swathes of Israel and the IDF. Among the dead, civilians, soldiers, and emergency services personnel. President Joe Biden spoke on Tuesday afternoon about the situation.
You know, there are moments in this life, and I mean this literally, when the pure, unadulterated evil is unleashed on this world. The people of Israel lived through one such moment this weekend.
Over the weekend, Biden ordered a naval task force into the area. On Tuesday, he promised Israel that the U.S. was by its side. Norman Finkelstein is an American political scientist and activist. He's an author who's written on the Israeli-Palestinian conflicts and the politics of the Holocaust, among other topics. He's held faculty positions at Brooklyn College, Rutgers University, Hunter College, NYU, and DePaul University. On Monday, he appeared on the Jimmy Dore Show and said this to guest host Craig Jardula.
Here is the question. What were the people of Gaza supposed to do? I'm going to give you a frank, personal admission, and I'm not proud of it, but I want to place this current situation in context. I first became involved in the Israel-Palestine conflict in June 1982, when Israel invaded Lebanon. I ended up writing my doctoral dissertation on a topic related to the Israel-Palestine conflict. And then I ended up devoting the whole of my adult life to that conflict. 40 years. And come 2020, even I gave up. I started to write about other subjects. I thought the situation was hopeless. And there was a lot of guilt stirred up inside me because I realized I was abandoning a people trapped in a concentration camp. Now, I don't want to be emotive. I don't want to be dramatic. However, it behooves me to say both my parents were in concentration camps during World War II. My mother was in Majdanek concentration camp. My father was in Auschwitz concentration camp. And I was riddled with guilt that people facing circumstances like my parents, and I had abandoned them. So, if even I had abandoned them, not making any claims to sainthood, but simply the fact that I invested 40 years of my life in that conflict and finally had to resign myself to the fact that nothing could be done. So, does it really surprise you is it really a shock that a couple of days ago, the people of Gaza, most of whom, let's bear it in mind, most of whom were born in that concentration camp. They were born into it. Does it really shock you that they would do something desperate to break free of that concentration camp? And who dare criticize whatever tactics they employed? I am not approving it, but I am not disapproving it, because I don't know what I would do if I had been born into a concentration camp and spent 20 years of my life there. Bear in mind, as I continue, I do not defend Hamas. That's the responsibility of the Palestinian people to choose their leaders. If that economic blockade had not been imposed and Hamas failed in its leadership responsibilities, presumably it would have been voted out, Hamas would have been voted out in the next election. The democratic process was never allowed to the Palestinian people. Hillary Clinton, who was a senator at the time, when the elections occurred in Gaza, this was her response. I'm quoting her. "We should have made sure that we did something to determine who was going to win." That's the American notion of democratic elections. We should rig them so the people will choose only the candidates that we want. Now, having said that, it is true, because we do not in any way want to distort the historical record. The truth is on the side of the Palestinian people, and the truth is on the side of the people of Gaza. It is true that up until the election of 2006, Hamas didn't recognize Israel as a state. However, once it came into power, it was undergoing an evolution which quite possibly, I'm not going to say certainly, it quite possibly would have resulted in a leadership willing to negotiate with Israel. They were never given the chance. Now, you say, is it Hamas or is it the people of Gaza? I am not going to say they are one and the same. However, I will say that who fertilizes Hamas? Who foments the support for Hamas? Who are the young people who join Hamas? If they were given an opportunity in life, if they were given a chance, if they were able to breathe, I don't know if they would have joined Hamas. Most of these young people are at the point where they're willing to just sacrifice their life because the situation is so hopeless. So I can't separate Hamas from the people of Gaza, because the blockade creates a synthesis and assimilation between the people and Hamas. They have no other options. They have no other choices. And this is the question. This is the question that we must constantly ask ourselves. What were their options?
For KPFK, I'm Don DeBar.